let me tell you of the days of high adventure.
Hello, I'm John.
And I'm Kevin.
And this is 6 Degrees of Schwarzenegger, the podcast where we take a long, hard look at some of our favorite action movies from the era of Arnold.
Schwarzenegger is the icon of the genre, and we're taking a deep dive into some of these 80s and 90s cult action movies and breaking them all the way down.
Well.
How's it going, mate?
We meet again.
Yes. I'm excited to talk more Cobra.
Yeah. Speaking of Cobra, you've just come back from the desert. Did you see any cobras?
No, I didn't even see any rattlesnakes.
Boo.
But
why bother?
They probably saw me. Like it was that thing where I'm like sort of thinking I'm probably walking right past some dangerous.
They heard you coming and they're like, we're just going to stay over here.
They gave me a wide berth.
Well, I'm glad you're back because I can't talk about this shit by myself. And we are very excited to tee back up our series on Cobra.
Yeah, welcome all of our regular listeners and new listeners to the podcast. We're having a great time talking about this movie. It's perfect for what we do, which is sort of poke fun of the silly nature of some of these movies.
And if you've listened to the podcast before and you're familiar with our work, you know that we have a special spot in our hearts for Sly Stallone's oeuvre, and that is to say that he's terrible.
He's like the B-side. He's like the B-side of 80s action movies.
But man, he thought he was the A. He thought he was the double A.
For sure. I have a few notes, but
yeah, hit it.
I have a note for everyone who's checking us out. If you listen to us on Apple Podcast and you're missing Cobra episode 2, there was some sort of glitch in the Matrix. We're trying to get it sorted out, but you can find that episode on our SoundCloud or Stitcher or Spotify or any number of other places. There's just something going on with Apple, or you can check us out on the Last of the Action Heroes podcast network, where you'll find a whole bunch of other rabbit holes you can go down about all the other awesome 80s and 90s action shit. Some more housekeeping I like to take care of. I need to correct the record about the director Cosmatos and Tombstone, which he directed. I was under the impression that he had been replaced midway through, but he was the director who came in to replace the other director who got fired early in the process of that. But it's my understanding, though, that Kurt Russell was doing the lion's share of the planning of shots and setting schedules and everything, and Cosmatos was basically more or less just calling action and cut. But he did not get fired off Tombstone. So my apologies to him. I got around finally to listening to the director's commentary, which shed almost no light on the movie at all. It was one of the least informative director's commentaries I've ever heard.
I would be interested to know how many NDAs got signed, either because the dudes from Canon had people sign them, or if Stallone was like, if you work with me, you have to sign an NDA.
Yeah, you can't.
Because I started thinking about how he's basically gone through his career, and you don't really hear any scandalous shit about him other than there was some coke use and yada yada yada. But it's those close to him, as close as anyone could be to a man like Stallone.
Yes.
They're very tight-lipped, and I wonder if it's because he's threatened them all.
Maybe. He's got ironclad non-disclosures, right? But I will say the director, Cosmatos, was very far up Stallone's ass on the commentary track. He was thanking God they had Stallone to write the screenplay and completely deviate from the book, fair game, which he described as being terribly boring, the book, and it's Jesus Christ. But there were a few things that I thought were worth mentioning.
Hit it.
The young woman in the grocery store that got the prolonged close-up, the one who was cowering in the freezer section.
Out.
Yeah, they get the produce or whatever like that. That was Stallone's niece.
Okay. All right.
And the director said that had no bearing on her getting the part. Which I'm like, Jesus, bullshit.
What did they line up several young ladies and be like, can you cower here next to the veg?
Can you believe Stallone's niece is the best at cowering next to the veg? We should give her a long close up.
Stallone's like, that's amazing. She's a natural talent.
Also, when Stallone ripped the Latin dude's shirt in the beginning, he's got a microphone taped to his chest, just clearly.
Interesting.
And the director's like, yeah, we didn't have time to shoot like another version without the microphone, so we just hope no one would notice. And I never noticed.
They should have made that dude from Internal Affairs or something. He's after Cobra.
Maybe he's a snitch.
He was trying to get Cobra.
Oh, Jesus.
They should have leaned into that hard. Like, Cobra should have said, like, I will never take me alive. And, like, walked off.
He said the movie was originally set to be shot in Seattle and located in Seattle, but they moved it to L.A. to make it cheaper. Yeah. Basically.
Huh. Okay, I guess, yeah.
I guess at that time, maybe it was super cheap to film in L.A. because I don't know how that works.
Yeah.
But he said that those statues of the 4 men who were in the underpass murder scene were like an art installation, a street art that he had seen in Seattle and liked so much that he had them flown down to California and to be in that scene. And I'm like, but who would put this art under the underpass?
I don't know. Unless it's like a major thoroughfare where lots of everyday traffic is coming through to appreciate it. But still, like, it's an underpass.
It's odd. It stuck out like a sore thumb in the movie. But same with the robots. All the robots, he said, were part of like an installation he had seen in a gallery in Seattle.
When we say him, are we talking about Stallone?
Cosmatos.
Okay, Cosmatos. Gotcha.
Cosmatos was so inspired by how awesome the robots were that he had them. I don't know if they filmed it in Seattle, the photo shoot sequence, or if they flew all the robots down to L.A. to film, but we can blame Cosmatos for the robots.
Okay. All right. Well, that sounds convenient to me.
He also said there was a backstory with the Nightslasher who was supposed to be like a fishmonger.
Okay. Well, that would have
in Seattle or whatever.
That would have made more sense. But then, like, however it ended up at Death Cult. Like,
no.
It's like,
I think there was always maybe the death cult, but I don't know if it was a cult of fishmongers or what.
Well, as we'll see later in the movie, it's like the criteria are all over the place for joining the death cult. It's like, it doesn't matter. We'll take all comers.
He also, Cosmatos just called the Nightslasher Night Stalker the entire commentary.
How did someone not stop him?
Bro, it's the Nightslasher. I was like, how do you not? I assume he had watched the movie recently before doing the commentary.
You have to jump in just jump in and say, hey, we have to correct you on
Night
this.
Stalker is a real life serial killer, I think. Yeah, it's bizarre. But that was my little housekeeping for you. I didn't want to leave out those nuggets.
No.
But I'll try to catch some on the plot before we get down to it.
Yeah, because we got a lot of shit to get through in this episode, you guys. You got to hang on to your butts.
Basically, you got this cop Cobra who's like the enforcer. He's the head of the zombie squad.
Which all we can tell from what this movie says about the zombie squad is that it's the cops that are allowed to kill with impunity. Mm-hmm. It's when detectives and others can't do their jobs, they send in people like Cobra to murder people.
Yeah. when you're done negotiating or done trying to bring it to a peaceful resolution, you just bring in Cobra, who's just a killer with a badge.
I've got your probable cause.
But so he's out doing his Cobra thing. Mm-hmm. There's some sort of a murderous cult led by this dude they call the Nightslasher.
At this point, they don't even. They just think it's one serial killer.
Guy, right? The cops think it's just one guy. Cobra thinks otherwise.
Right.
For no reason really that anyone can decipher. But this dude's killed like a ton of people in the span of a month, or at least that's what the police think, right? Now, Ingrid, played by Brigitte Nielsen, she witnessed a murder, got a good long eyeball of the Nightslasher, and then they tried to kill her once. Mm-hmm. But failed. So she was now under the custody of the police. She's at the hospital. But we found out that Nightslasher has someone on the inside of the force, this female police officer. Right. We don't know her name yet. But he's basically sort of getting himself pulled together because he's going to go to the hospital and try to kill Ingrid. Right. And, yeah.
That's it.
That's sort of
good.
where we're at.
That was excellent. I'm impressed. So yeah, we open up at the hospital. Cobra and his partner Tony Gonzalez have brought in a sketch artist who's working up a composite of the Nightslasher. Cobra shows Ingrid the sketch, and she says, yeah, that sort of looks like the guy who attacked her.
That's what you want to hear. It looks a little like him.
And Gonzalez asks her about the others she saw, and she's like, it's too dark.
Well, the sketch looked like a child's drawing.
Yeah, the artist is not good.
It bore almost no resemblance to
Stallone
the
probably
guy.
did. He's like, let me try.
No, I read where the storyboard artist drew the picture, and the storyboard artist, that was the guy in the chair like playing the sketch artist, he was the storyboard artist for the movie.
But man, you would think I don't know. I don't like the Kevin Spacey
it's terrible.
composite.
It was a terrible sketch
in
of
Usual
him.
Suspects sort of looks like Kevin Spacey. This drawing looks like no one.
Like no one. It's like that leprechaun drawing from that newscast. It looked like this. The dude, then the sketch artist like asked the guy, do you want me to distribute copies of this? And Cobra said no.
What? Why?
I'm going to go and no, I want to take it first. I'll take care of it, he says. Fucking weird
I'm
shit.
pretty sure that's not procedure, but
No,
I also
not
don't know
at
how
all.
Zombie Squad works. So Cobra says Ingrid's going to stay overnight at the hospital, but that tomorrow they're going to move her to a place called a safe house. Okay. Is that what they call it? A safe house?
It's never made clear why Cobra and Gonzalez have been assigned to like even see her in the hospital.
Yeah,
Doesn't seem like their wheelhouse.
No. It seems like he's just like, I have to protect this woman because she's weak and Northern European.
Yeah, she's weak and beautiful.
Yeah.
Just my type.
Yeah, exactly. Ingrid's like, why can't I just leave? And Cobra says, you're our only witness, so this is the way it's got to be.
Is that how that shit works?
No.
Can they just hold her against her will like that?
No.
I wouldn't think so. I mean, I would think she would kind of want their protection.
Unless it's like offered you police protection, and she's like, yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah.
Well, this is part of that.
Can I just leave? No, it's got to be this way.
Got to be this way. So then we get more food gags, unexplained humor that Stallone thought was going to kill in this movie between Cobra and his partner Gonzalez.
I got something here that looks like cheese.
Cobra fucking offers Gonzalez some of Ingrid's hospital food, like without asking.
You want some
It's just
of
like
this?
Gonzalez says, like, I want her cake, but Cobra says you should take this cheese. Cobra finally makes sure it's okay after they've started eating the food. And I don't understand why this movie is leaning so hard into this like weirdly comedic food thing.
All that shit was apparently improvised, which it had that feel, I guess, but because it was so sloppy.
We need some more time, and Stallone's like, we'll make.
Got to pad this out. She was annoyed by them, which can you even blame her though?
Yeah, we cut over to her. She's like bent over with her head in hands while these fucks eat her food.
I also thought, like, we've decided in the world of this movie that we think the character Ingrid wears wigs or is wearing a wig.
Yeah.
And so I'm like just thinking, so she's sitting in this hospital room like wearing a wet wig.
Yeah. I don't know how that can be her real hair. It just doesn't look real. And maybe it was.
No, it definitely wasn't. She still had the Rocky IV, the shortcut.
Yeah. So
it doesn't make sense, but I think I don't know.
Maybe
I think no one thought it through.
Is this supposed to be her real hair?
I think it's supposed to be her real hair, but we've seen her in this film with short hair that was clearly not a wig.
Right.
So anyway,
meanwhile, back at the Nightslasher lair, the Nightslasher himself, he's dyeing his hair black. While he's doing that, the evil policewoman that we found out was evil in the last act tells him that he's got to stop Ingrid or she's going to wreck the new world and the dream. And there's sort of like a weird mommy-son relationship, and it's like almost like Damien and his nurse from The Omen.
Yes.
Like this vibe where she's like groomed him to be the Antichrist or something like that.
It almost feels like he's her puppet or something.
Yeah.
Also, I thought it was weird. She seemed to be back in her police uniform now, which we had just seen her at the hospital in street clothes, so she went and got back in uniform to go talk to the Nightslasher.
I did like the camera work there from the DP of like showing the Nightslasher and then just like moving
in the mirror,
slowly,
sorta?
moving slowly, and you seeing her behind him in the mirror. But anyway, he continues dyeing his hair in silence. Cut back to the good guys. Cobra and Gonzalez walk around the hospital talking shit about the guy in the sketch just being another dirtbag. Cobra says he wants to take the sketch home and check it against my files.
What
and
the fuck?
What?
He's got info at home that the police don't have access to, is what it seems like.
I thought I was timely giving everything that's going on with Trump. I'm going to go home and check it against
I got my own files at
Is
home.
that allowed?
No, it can't be.
Okay. Yeah.
He says it's going to be a couple hours, which I'm like, it would really be helpful though if the rest of the police had access to this sketch in the meantime.
What? No.
Like, no, I got to take the sketch home, compare it to my files.
Yeah, his MO is weird. So anyway, he says he'll be back in a couple hours. Gonzalez changes the subject, saying that Ingrid's a nice-looking lady. Cobra's like, the one upstairs?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't notice, Gonzalez. I was on the job. I was paying attention to business. Yeah, me too. I didn't notice.
That was pretty funny.
That's fucking awesome.
Gonzalez was funny.
And then as Cobra heads up the stairs, Gonzalez says, fucking liar. To which Cobra says, watch your mouth. You're in public. And they share this like wry smile.
That was more like improvised shit, according to the director, which makes you wonder how short was the written script for this.
Well, yeah.
I imagine it's like a 60-page script or something. And he's
Stallone or whoever probably wrote an ad lib.
Well, it's like if the robots are the director's idea, if that shit, then I imagine the screenplay is probably just like montage. Ingrid at photo shoot while Cobra does police work and Nightslasher does Nightslasher shit.
Yeah, that's probably exactly what it says.
We'll fill it in later, but it's like this. Yeah, if all of this shit is improvised, then I'm like, this must have been the most bare bones.
Yeah.
Like Stallone cranked this shit out over a weekend. This would have
been a made for TV, like an hour-long special TV event or something.
Yeah, it's an episode of the A-Team, basically.
Yeah. So, cut to Cobra rolling up outside his apartment in Venice Beach. We see that the same Latinx crew from earlier is there again, chilling in and on their car and listening to the same song. Song was tight. Tight.
I think it was like they had the cassette, the single.
Yeah. They were like, I'm too fucking lazy. At the time, but that's the way, right? You put the tape in and you let it go. You let it play, baby.
Auto reverse, maybe? It like plays the B side, then you're back to the A side again.
That was a high quality cassette and stereo that he had in there. So as Cobra pulls up, he honks the horn at him, which the dude he humiliated earlier jumps in the car, pulls it forward a few feet so that Cobra can have, quote, his spot.
Right. With more empty spots either in front of and behind the Impala. It's like
also,
Cobra's
did you
such a prick.
Catch the detail of the person like doing the skateboard equivalent of windsurfing down the street?
I think he was actually on roller skates.
Was it roller skates?
With a sail. And then another dude came cruising through on roller skates.
It's Venice Beach, 1986.
It's like this was some sort of odd time warp I feel like the Cobra lives in, where there's all classic cars and people are like roller skating around like it's the fucking 50s or something.
Roller skating out in California, like I have
in the 80s, it was hot.
Oh yeah, and then rollerblading is like 93 is like rollerblades. Everything is like everywhere. Anyway, so as Cobra gets out of the car, the dude says, "¿Cómo estás, Colonel?" Cobra tells him he's a good citizen. Yes. He's whipped these hoodlums into shape.
Cobra approves of his subservience.
Jesus. Yeah, so dude stares Cobra down as he walks away, but his friends are like, "Come on, man, get in the car." So back over the hospital, we see a hulking black-haired Nightslasher waltz right in.
He somehow looks more conspicuous than he does when he has the pantyhose on his head.
He's enormous. Just the dude, and the dude's face is just like, it's not a face you would ever forget ever.
Right.
So we cut back to Cobra's apartment. We see him scribbling on his transparent whiteboard situation while flipping through what we guess are his personal criminal database.
Dude, he had like the Goodwill Hunting setup or something in there where he's like working at fucking equations on the clear, like the plexiglass.
Yeah, he's
got that beautiful mind shit.
Yeah,
you said.
Exactly. He's got mugshots and fingerprints readily on file that he has stolen.
Apparently, right?
He stole them. So back over at the hospital, we get some cuts between Nightslasher making his way through the joint and Ingrid, who seems to be having some kind of nightmare because she's like tossing and turning but not quite awake. Back in Venice Beach, Cobra sees something on a page that's coming out of his dot matrix printer, which prompts him to start flipping through his massive photo album of suspects.
He had a lot of time to put this shit together.
He is obsessive. That's a common theme in these movies, as we've discussed. It's like people have obsessions.
Yeah.
So back at the hospital, we see a janitor's mopping up while listening to like a Lakers game or a Dodgers game or something, but then the audio goes quiet. And he goes to investigate the radio. As he does that, Nightslasher like grabs him through the shelving unit and kills him with his crazy knife and takes his glasses.
The transformation is now complete.
Moments later,
Clark Kent mode
I know. Moments later, a night nurse goes to take an elevator, and when it opens, there's Nightslasher wearing, I guess, the uniform of the guy he's just killed, but there ain't
much smaller.
There ain't no way they're wearing the same coveralls.
He's in there looking like Michael Myers,
Yeah, that's exactly what he looks like. So the night nurse is hysterical. She's like, "You men are supposed to use the service elevator," and tells him the next time he better take the stairs. And like he gives this like very sinister side eye, which is kind of funny, but also it's like again there's a comedic element to this movie that's like that shit's funny. Back at Cobra headquarters, we see he's still flipping through fingerprints on his computer and slinging pictures of guys who he thinks are not Nightslasher.
He was eyeballing fingerprints like he could read that shit with his naked eye.
He's like, no, that's not him.
That's not a man. You don't even have a fingerprint for the slasher.
It's so stupid.
What the fuck was he doing? I feel like they just gave Stallone a bunch of props.
Yeah.
And told him like just to fucking wing it.
Yeah, I'm sure he's like, no, I got this.
It was like that shit in Commando when Commando was studying the maps, or when Eraser was like,
the island is here.
When Eraser was playing around on the computer, like and he looks like
tell me to stop when you see something you recognize.
It's like he just looks like someone who is completely lost in what they're doing, but so he's also he's sweating profusely, like wiping the sweat away. It's like, dude, you're wearing leather gloves and a wool trench coat.
You never took your trench coat off. Yeah. So we come back to the elevator. Either Nightslasher took umbrage with night nurse's admonishment, or he can't be in close proximity to someone without just murdering them, because he starts to take his knife out to kill her. But like whatever the case may be, right as he's about to do her, she gets off the elevator. But not without a parting shot. She's like, remember the health code. Next time, take the stairs.
I feel like he's lucky he didn't try her, because she might have dropped him.
I think she would have killed him with that clipboard, for real, though. So, yeah, we come back to Cobra's place. He's still forever cross-referencing the sketch with his computer and his binder full of crooks. Yeah, and he's still dressed in all his clothes, including gloves. Back at the hospital, Nightslasher arrives at Ingrid's floor and is immediately noticed by a nurse at the desk who says, it's a little late for mopping. And then the cop that's on guard duty asks, hey, do you want me to go say something? And she's like, no, I got to do my rounds anyway. I'll say something to her. And as she walks away, he takes a nice, long, healthy look at that ass.
That horny cop was useless.
Yeah.
Like,
the fuck are you
she's
here
like,
for?
oh, that's suspicious. That janitor shouldn't be up here. Oh, you want me to check it out? No. Okay. What is your purpose here, sir?
No, definitely go right over and ask.
That's the only thing you're here for, is to check on suspicious individuals.
Also, would they only have one guy up there?
Well, they pulled other guys off. We're going to find out, right?
Yeah. That's right. But I'm saying, like, at that point, that makes sense.
There should have been 3 guys or some shit.
So then we get a shot of Nightslasher walking down the hall, putting on some latex gloves, obviously up to no good. Cut to an exterior shot of Cobra's apartment, where we see that the courtyard just outside his place, where he keeps the grill and his newspapers, is illuminated by an enormous billboard-sized Pepsi sign.
Yes,
what the
neon.
Fuck? Yeah, neon. But shit is lit. How does he sleep? It's like that episode of Seinfeld with Kenny Rogers Roasters.
Just the buzz from the sign.
It's like 10 feet by 12 or 15 feet.
It's huge. It's a billboard.
Yeah.
I noticed on the wide shot, Cobra had not one but 2 massive American flags like on his wall inside the apartment.
I noticed that as well, and they're mounted one on top of the other. It's like twice as American.
Yes.
Jesus, Stallone. So anyway, as the dot matrix printer continues to screech, Cobra gets a phone call from Gonzalez. Gonzalez says hey, I'm in your office, where there's a big-ass Reagan photo.
I know, he's a patriotic fucker at Cobra.
And he says, hey, what'd you need from here? And Cobra's like, what are you doing there?
Ooh.
Gonzalez says, I got a call from headquarters telling me to come down to your office. Cobra yells, get back to the hospital, and gets up to leave. Man, I don't know. Between Stallone and Schwarzenegger, there's a lot of just
mumbling.
Just like, I can't tell what's happening. So, yeah, Cobra yells at him, get back to the hospital, gets up to leave. Meanwhile, Gonzalez is like, shit, starts to raise the alarm at the station that something's amiss.
He yells out the name Presley, a name we've never heard before and will never hear again in this movie. And it makes me wonder what was missing.
I wonder if Presley is the name of the cop that's near the end of the movie that's inexplicably in the meetings with the chief that's like, we should do this.
Maybe he's like the head of the detectives or something.
I don't know. He yells a name and we're like, who? Does not compete
Presley!
with me.
And it's like, what? Who? Huh?
Yeah. So as Cobra, over his place, opens the door to leave, he's met by a screaming man in a pantyhose mask who swings an axe and misses and lodges the axe in the door. Cobra leaps past him, grapples a second pantyhosed man, and starts flinging him into walls and shit. They whirl around into the Pepsi courtyard, and Cobra flings the second guy down. He gets up, dodges another swing from the axe guy, punches that dude out, then kicks the shit out of the other guy, and then at that point, A third attacker, if you can't keep track, burst through like a neighbor's window
Where did he
door.
come from? Was he inside another apartment?
I think he was in another apartment, but he like come busting out a glass
through
door
the glass,
or something, swinging a knife. Cobra punches that dude out with no issue, then pulls his pistol and kills one of the other attackers. The lighting from the Pepsi sign all this while is just amazing.
Is that the kind of product placement you'll want? Where like he's like brandishing his gun and shooting in front of the Pepsi sign? I guess it is.
I guess it's just like it's subliminal. It's like, oh yeah, Pepsi. Yeah, I'm thirsty. Exactly. So the remaining
bloodthirsty.
Yeah, the remaining goon tries to make a break for it on the fire escape. Cobra's like, hey, and the guy whirls around, pulls the gun. Cobra shoots first, which causes the guy to somehow
Cobra
fall.
always shoots first.
Yeah, he falls between the rails somehow.
I don't know what he was inside of the catwalk or the fire escape.
Yeah,
and then he was outside the railing.
Yeah, it's like he fell through the gap in between the
Is
top
that what
and bottom.
happened?
I don't even know.
It was poorly blocked.
But also, that fire escape's a hazard. It's not safe.
The low railing.
Yeah. So anyway, he falls 6 or 7 stories to his death, and Cobra's like grimacing down and like, yeah,
did that.
Awesome.
I like that. I like the way he splattered.
He turns to go. Back at the hospital, the nurse from the desk is doing her rounds. She cracks a door to one of the rooms, kind of peeks around inside, and then closes it back. She seems very apprehensive. Like, it doesn't seem – it would have paid off more if they'd shown her actually talking to some patients. Otherwise, it just makes her look like she's nervous she can't find the janitor, or said, hey, have you seen the janitor to another nurse, and then be like, no.
Well, first, like, no real-life nurse's uniform is tailored like this.
No.
That shit was like some stripper shit.
It was like some Halloween costume. So, meanwhile, we cut to Cobra running down the alley toward his car, and he seems to have some trouble slowing down because he kind of runs straight into the car before trying to get the door open. And I'm just like, again, this is one of those things where it's like Stallone, for all his physical prowess, seems to have a hard time acting like a normal human being or doing things that a normal human being would do. But anyway, he tears ass out of there, racing to the hospital, where now we see that the nurse has entered another room. She's got a little pin flashlight. She flings back a curtain to reveal an empty bed. It's not clear still why she's acting so scared.
Well, if she's nervous that something's not right, why is she not getting the cop?
Yeah, go back and get some help. Yeah, they haven't made it clear whether she's looking for the janitor, but now I can't find him or what. But anyway, she approaches the neighboring bed, and we can tell that something or someone is in it because it's kind of like humped over.
Yeah.
She throws just throws the clipboard down, shines her light on the bed, and we see there's a lady with covers pulled up to her nose, and the light shows that the mop head, or a mop head, that's covered in blood is on the pillow next to the woman's head. And she goes to pull the blanket back. She gets grabbed from underneath the bed, and then also somehow a hand is put over her mouth. So I don't understand exactly how Nightslasher's body works, but like he grabs her ankle, and then the next shot is a hand on her mouth.
I feel like, again, a lot of violence was edited out of this scene.
Yeah.
Because then it just cuts to her bloody hand, gripping the sheets.
Slow-mo bloody hand grasping sheets, and that's the end of the nurse we get.
Yeah, I feel like there was a lot there we didn't see.
Meanwhile, over in Ingrid's room, she's still tossing and turning in her sleep. Then we get a succession of shots of Cobra hauling ass to the hospital.
I was wondering, does Cobra not have a radio in his car? Or would you not...
Zombie Squad don't use radios.
Both he and Gonzalez, the first thing should be to put out the alert.
Yeah.
Everyone go to the hospital. I mean, radio the cop that is there.
Right.
And tell him be at Ingrid's door right now.
The cop would have been there instantaneously.
Yeah.
So,
instead, but maybe he doesn't have a radio, but that seems just way out of protocol.
We're going to pull 2 other cops off, and you don't get a radio because of budget cuts. So, yeah, we get the succession of shots of Cobra driving and a bloody Nightslasher methodically making his way to Ingrid's room. He enters, and we see him and his knife in silhouette against the bed curtain, which is kind of cool. His disembodied voice says, "Pretty hair." What? Then he whips the curtain back with this crazy look on his face and stabs down on the bed like the Nazgul in the Prancing Pony.
Yes, of course.
But surprise, Ingrid's apparently been on the shitter.
Do you think was the hair the reason that he's so fixated on Ingrid now? Has he liked her hair?
Idea. I have no clue. But
there was a pair of I don't know if you saw a pair of these custom Rocky boxing shoes under the bed, which is odd.
Yeah, very strange.
Weird Easter egg.
Yeah. So she opens the bathroom door, sees this freak with a knife and screams. He lunges and she manages to get the door closed and locked. She then turns toward another door, and then one of the stranger. I'm like, were hospitals like hotels?
You're
and
sharing
that
a bathroom?
Like, there's no way that hospitals had adjoining rooms where two different families or patients would be sharing a shitter.
You wouldn't think so.
Yeah, doesn't make sense to me. But also, whatever. I don't remember the 80s that well. I was a child. She hides in the shower while Nightslasher pounds the door. While that's happening, Cobra arrives.
Well,
at the hospital
like she tried to get out that other door, but it was blocked.
Barricaded shut with hospital
which
equipment.
is a fucking gotta be a fire hazard.
Yeah, that's not allowed. This hospital is not up to code. Back with Ingrid, the pounding on the door stops. Instead of just sitting there chilling quiet and waiting for anything to happen, she gets up, leans toward the door, trying to hear if the attacker's still outside.
Sure, he's probably left.
Yeah, he's gone now.
He's lost interest.
So then the knife blade comes like jabbing through the door. It's like covered in blood and gore. She screams and she's like, "Why are you doing this?" over and over again.
I thought it was some of the better work from Brigitte in the movie was this sequence.
She and Gonzalez were like the talent in this movie. And Stalk wasn't bad either.
Well, even the dude who played Nightslasher was like good for what he had to do.
Yeah, I mean, which is just like
be as psychotic as possible.
Just have a crazy
Try
face.
to make Cobra look normal.
Man, that's a tough ask. But he pulled it off. So, like Nightslasher's doing his best Jack Torrance. Cobra's racing through the halls. Back in the bathroom, Nightslasher's managed to weaken the door so much that he can kick a hole through it. And then while Ingrid's again trying to get the other door open, Nightslasher reaches in. It's like trying to just stab her. Just if I could just reach and stab her.
That was a memorable, like the way he was moving was something machine-like about it. He was just like waving his stiff arm around.
Terrifying. He can't quite reach her, thank God. Summoning all her will, Ingrid finally manages to budge the other door open, squeezes out, and makes a run for it, screaming for help out in the hall. Nightslasher feels around for the lock of the door. I mean, couldn't he have just looked through the hole and be like, I should just run out in the hallway now?
Yeah.
Instead of being like all this deal with the lock.
Unless it popped out to a different hallway.
Right.
But that shouldn't be.
No. So Ingrid doesn't find anyone to help. Why is this hospital?
Where'd the cop go?
Where are any other nurses? There's not one nurse. There's not one charge nurse on the floor.
That was bizarre. Yeah, there's no one coming to her screams for help.
She doesn't find anything but a fire alarm, which she smashes open and pushes the button. Bells start ringing. The hallway's instantly flooded with dozens of people
who heard her screaming for help, no doubt.
The only thing that I could think about that is that on a hospital floor like that, you hear people yelling for like codes and shit, and then you're just like, well, they're probably somebody must be dying or something. I don't know.
There were dudes like fully dressed in business suits walking out of rooms. I'm like, wait, what? It's probably 3 or 4 a.m., isn't it? It's like late. I don't know who those dudes were, but whatever.
They're there with their wives or partners or abortion girlfriends. I don't know. So anyway, Ingrid peeks around the corner. She locks eyes for a moment with Nightslasher, who's down at the other end of the hall that's now crowded. He blends into the crowd of people leaving the building just as Cobra runs up. Ingrid sees Cobra. He sees her. They run towards each other and embrace, and amidst the chaos, meanwhile, Nightslasher escapes.
Yeah.
Takes off his glasses as if to signal, I don't need this disguise anymore.
That looked totally different.
Yeah. Cut to police headquarters a little while later. The chief of police is chewing Cobra out. You always got everyone killed doing it your way. Now maybe you'll do it the right way.
Everyone?
Yeah.
What is he talking? What the hell is he talking about?
No one knows. Who?
What did he do? What did Cobra do wrong?
Who? Cobra.
Everyone. You almost got everyone killed.
What are you?
Were we moments away from every person in the hospital dying?
Cobra was at his apartment. Like, what are you talking about? So anyway, Cobra says that Nightslasher's got an informant working for the cops. That's the only way to explain how this has all gone down. The chief's like, that's quite an accusation, and asks if Cobra can prove it. And Cobra's like, not yet.
But, I mean, someone from headquarters called
big time.
And said, 2 of the cops should leave.
Oh, and also we need Gonzalez to go to, like, obviously, we can't prove it.
Something happened.
And it all came from inside the computer. So, Captain Spears says that while he understands they're dealing with a shitty situation, that Cobra should make things harder than they already are. He then says that Monty told him that Cobra's been withholding the sketch of the killer. Monty, that bastard. But it's true. Cobra says that Monty didn't say the magic word. This apparently is the first time Monty's ever heard this turn of phrase, because he's like, what magic word? Stupid.
Please.
Cobra's like, please. And he also is like, it's the first time he's ever tried to say this word. And like, please. And it's like, the hardest thing. It's the hardest word he's ever said, but he hands over the sketch.
But what is that
Please.
shit? Like, now Cobra, he's let his beef with Monty get in the way of the hunt for the killer.
Yeah.
He's like, he kind of was withholding the sketch.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not wrong. The sketch would definitely have been shared, like, should have been shared with headquarters, right? Or does he not trust anyone? Is that his thing? Is it like,
like you said earlier, he's the only righteous man.
Okay.
Yeah,
no one else can be trusted with this.
No, not
to
even
hold the sketch,
except for Gonzalez, and maybe not even him, because I'm going to hold the sketch. So the chief says, "Enough of this bullshit," and asks Cobra if he understands the situation.
That.
Yeah,
that's my assessment of this. Enough of this bullshit.
Cobra's like, I understand, and basically he's like, "Can I go now?" And Sears says, "Yeah, we're done." Cobra's walking out. Chief says, "Cabretti, do you know you have an attitude problem?" And Stallone, not Cobra, says, "Yeah. It's just a little one," with this innocent look on his face, like funny.
Well, he's letting his own like weird antisocial agenda that he's got like get in the way of the search for the Nightslasher.
Yeah,
it's like he's being intentionally difficult.
He is actually putting at least her life in danger and Gonzalez's life in danger.
That made me wonder, like, if there were scenes that were cut out where there were discussions had, that were more or less going to use her for bait and see if he comes to try to kill her. And that's why everyone's so mad at Cobra, because the way that the movie played out as we saw it, there's just no call for everyone to be blaming him for this.
Yeah. So the next day, we guess Cobra's in Ingrid's new swanky hospital room. It looks like they moved her up to the maternity floor.
Yeah,
or something,
what is that space? It was like a nice hotel room within
a suite. Probably a maternity
It's
suite.
probably in for like VIP type patients, celebrities or something.
The president comes down with his wife or whatever. So she's packing to check out. He's wearing sunglasses inside and eating an apple. She asks, "He's going to get me, isn't he?" Talking about her would-be murder. And Cobra's like, "No, he won't."
No.
And she's like, "Why? How can you be sure, especially since, I was supposed to be safe at the hospital?" She asks who Nightslasher is. Cobra's like, "We don't know yet because that dot matrix printer is very slow." Just then Gonzalez enters, says it's time to hit the road. Gonzalez introduces Officer Stalk, who's been assigned to the case, and as luck would have it, it's the evil cult lady.
Yeah. Well, what's her job? I thought she was like a dispatch officer.
Now
she's like in plain clothes,
detective.
Being assigned to a protection detail. It makes no sense.
Maybe she got an overnight promotion, which there's a lot in this movie that doesn't make sense, because this movie teases a lot at like Monty being in on it. And we've talked about that before. And it's like, it would have made more sense if like more people inside the police department were involved in this.
Well, Monty could pull the strings, right? To like get Stalk assigned.
Yeah. So Ingrid wants to know where they're going, but Cobra reiterates that it's that thing called a safe house.
Again, it's like, he won't give her information.
Yeah.
There's no harm in telling her.
Yeah. So then he asks if she needs help carrying her tiny-ass bag, which she ignores.
I think it was meant to be a joke, right? Like, you need help with
I don't know. I thought maybe he's being chivalrous. But then he shoves his apple, which is mostly core at this point, and says, "You want a bite?" Which it's very weird.
I think it was also meant to be a play for laughs, but it wasn't funny.
I do too. I love her. She cracked up. Ingrid, Bridget Nielsen, I think, cracked up at that take. Yeah, sold it big time. She declines the gross apple, and he says, "Don't you like health food?"
Fucking Stallone, man, can't help himself.
Yeah, he's a fitness nut.
He was obsessed with the diet shit.
Yeah.
Which I guess you have to be to maintain that physique that he had or whatever. But it's weird that it continually bleeds into his movies, movie after movie.
Yeah.
It was like this, Over the Top, and Tango and Cash all had weird asides about what other people were eating wasn't healthy enough.
Obsessed with it. So the very next shot, we see Cobra and gang coming down the escalator. Cobra's still got his gun tucked into the waist of his jeans.
The hammer was literally pulled back on the gun.
You got to be prepared, Kevin.
Firm jostle, and that thing's going to like blow his junk off.
Well, it's very shriveled from steroids. So he's also doing his best police officer impression, like peeking around corners and like juking and jiving around looking for shady characters. At the bottom of the escalator, Monty is waiting to let him have it, saying Cobra needs to share what he knows about last night and that he should have let his team handle this. And he also reminds him that he's not the only cop who wants to catch the Nightslasher.
I don't know. At this point, it sort of seems like nobody wants to catch the Nightslasher.
Yeah.
But what the hell who's Monty's team?
I
That's
don't
like
know.
another thing we didn't really see. I guess he's the head of maybe a squad of detectives or something.
Yeah, that's what I gathered as well. But it's like not made clear why Monty's people versus Cobra's people or versus Cobra.
Yeah.
So Cobra says, I want to know why there were 3 cops assigned to protect Ingrid and headquarters called and took 2 guys off the room. That's a good question.
Yes.
That makes sense as to why
That's
there was
what they
only
really
one dude.
should be looking into at
Yeah,
this
it's like,
point.
oh, wait, how did that happen? It seems like they could trace, they know where that call comes from.
Of course.
And who made it.
Yeah, no doubt.
The movie thus would end here. But Monty says headquarters didn't do anything. Okay. So Cobra wants to know who did them, but Monty's like, hey, it's your show, find out, which is, we're getting big conflicting messages from Monty. He's like, do you want to work together or not? Are you supposed to be working together or aren't you?
A second ago it was stop trying to do everything on your own. Now it's
Go do stuff on your own.
You're on your own, buddy.
Fuck you.
They're both fucking terrible, though, about letting their personal shit get in the way of doing the job.
Poor Ingrid. So the 3 cops, Cobra Gonzalez and evil cult lady, Officer Stalk, escort Ingrid out of the building. Cobra has her get in his car, the least conspicuous car.
The hot rod.
And peels out.
He burned rubber.
He's like tearing ass out of there.
He left Gonzalez and Stock like in the dust.
Fuck you guys.
That's
so,
fucking what a conspicuous.
Why can't Gonzalez keep up with me?
What a conspicuous asshole Cobra is. That was bizarre, dude.
As Gonzalez and Stalk go to follow in his car, Stalk makes conspicuous eye contact with a guy in a car parked across the street. Already there are Nightslasher goon cult guys everywhere sitting in cars parked on streets and watching the good guys in their progress. We find out pretty quick that the goal is to separate Cobra and Gonzalez because we see Cobra make a turn, and a moment later as Gonzalez and Stalk go to make that same turn, some cult guys like T-bone them in a truck.
Thanks to Cobra, creating such a gap between them.
Yeah, with
his bullshit.
You're supposed to be letting someone follow you for security's sake, for the person in your car.
No, you don't give a fuck about that.
Yeah. So elsewhere,
he's trying to impress Ingrid. Like, look how fast I can drive.
You see this awesome 50. So elsewhere, is that because it's a 1950? Okay. So elsewhere, Cobra pulls up to a red light, and one's like, "Where's Gonzalez?"
What?
No, fuck. Well, yeah, where is he?
You lost him with your Fast and the Furious shit.
At that moment, a car comes speeding toward them across the intersection,
which was the same car that was sitting outside the hospital watching them, so I don't know how they got into that position.
This is
it's
one
the
of many times that these guys know all these dudes are cab drivers. They are crack.
They know the shortcuts.
Yeah, they know the most excellent shortcuts through LA.
Yeah, it's Nightslasher and his right hand man.
Yeah. So Nightslasher half hangs out the passenger seat window, fires a shotgun at the other car.
He had
Cobra's
that Mad
car.
Max shit, the little short double-barreled shotgun.
He misses somehow. Cobra slams the car into gear, hauls ass in pursuit. Why is he pursuing this car?
No, you're putting Ingrid's life in danger for sure doing this.
You drive to this. It's like
you call for backup.
Yeah, you get on the radio.
We've established he doesn't keep a radio in the car.
This is so dumb.
The radio would slow it down.
He and Ingrid buckle up in their full-on racing harnesses.
Why were they not buckled up before?
Maybe it wasn't against the law at that point. I don't know. So just then, the camper truck that T-boned Gonzalez comes screeching around the corner in pursuit of Cobra's car. So we've got a Cobra sandwich between cult cars.
Yes.
Nightslasher's ride barrels through some of those newspaper boxes. He gets up on the sidewalk. Cobra follows because fuck it, why not?
Yeah.
The bad guys ram through a hot dog cart. Everyone's doing their gnarliest power slides.
Yeah.
Nightslasher gets off another round and misses again because it seems like knives and close-range weapons are more his thing. You don't need to aim those. But not to be outdone, the dudes in the truck start shooting at Cobra from behind.
That one dude looked like he was straight from a New England bed and breakfast.
Yeah.
He had a cable knit turtleneck on.
That's like the death cult takes all comers. So now the chase has taken us onto a highway. Everyone's weaving through traffic. Truck goons are still shooting and hitting Cobra's car, which pisses me off to no end. So he lets out this epic Stallone yell, whips the car around, throws it in reverse. Then he produces a submachine gun, I guess, from a cup holder, and
he
just unloads on the truck. Yeah.
At all times. All the bullet holes in the back of the car had disappeared at that point.
There's so many continuity issues in this chase scene. But anyway, he blows the truck sky high because, of course, he does.
Right. What was in the back of that thing? It was like it was loaded with dynamite or something.
I don't know, but it blows it off the frame. It's like the frame comes off, like the whole chassis comes apart. It's crazy. Cobra whips the car back around, takes the briefest of looks over at Ingrid to make sure she's still with it, and then floors it after the other car. As he pulls up alongside Nightslasher's car, we hear the driver yell, "He's crazy! He's crazy!" And
Nightslasher has transported from the front seat to the back seat.
Yeah, he's got in the back seat now. He tries to shoot the back windshield out at point blank range and is unsuccessful. It shatters the glass, but it stays intact, which I'm calling bullshit. But then he manages to bang a tiny hole down at the bottom and gets another shot off. Then we see the cars do a side-by-side power slide into an alley where they're banging into trash cans and other sundry debris and each other. The bad guys run into another car at one point, which takes off most of the front of their car is gone now.
Still driving, though.
And Cobra goes airborne over another car.
He took flight. How did that happen?
His car is so low to the ground. Any shot you've seen of this car, the clearance that car would have to hit something and go airborne like that is nigh on impossible. It would hit it and just come to a stop, or just roll right off the edge and be nose down. So the chase continues into a parking garage because Cobra went in the outdoor. It seems like that to avoid hitting another car, he had to make an immediate turn. So he ends up on a level above where Nightslasher is.
Yeah, although he still seems to know where Nightslasher's car is.
There's only one way to go, and that's straight, baby, we guess. So just after Nightslasher and his dude burst through the barricade on street level, Cobra comes crashing through a fence and drives his car right off the second level in pursuit.
Which was a wild stunt.
That stunt was... So many of the car stunts in this scene were badass.
That would destroy that car.
Yeah, it would have cracked it in half. The axle would have cracked in half.
The director said that the stunt went wrong when they were doing it, and the car just went out of control through the safety barriers and out into the highway. And he said it was just fortunate that there was no bigger crash with cars on the highway.
They are super lucky.
Jesus Christ.
So Nightslasher tells the driver to go in his weird demon voice. They're driving in a more congested area now. They're whizzing past a lot of cars that are sitting still in their lanes. We see the bad guys are driving up between two tanker trucks, and then a third truck sort of pulls into their route. And it seems like they should have been driving under a trailer, but instead we see that they run between two more trucks.
I couldn't tell what was happening.
I can't tell. The physics of the scene defy all logic because it's there was one truck and then there were two trucks plus two trucks. So anyway, Nightslasher, who's at this point been rubbish with a gun, gets off two perfect shots that spectacularly blow up the two tanker trucks.
Yes.
Undeterred, Cobra drives right through the fire and carnage. All this time, the chase been teasing the nitrous on Cobra's car. We keep seeing the gauge, and now
the time has come.
It's go time. So he takes a look over at Ingrid get ready. He flips the switch. The car zooms forward. Cobra's driving with one hand, shooting with the other hand while his car is doing 120 or something.
Ingrid looked terrified, as well she should. Cobra, this dude doesn't give a fuck about her life.
No, fuck her. Turn those machines back on. So there are so many continuity things that we've mentioned and other things that defy logic here. With the NOS, how did he not immediately ram into the other car?
Yeah.
He wasn't far behind. He should have hit the car, like in a Mad Max thing. Also, no sooner had he flipped the switch than both cars had to make a sudden left-hand turn, which causes the hot rod in that shot to pretty much come to a complete stop. Is that how nitrous works?
I don't know what would happen.
Possible?
I feel like you'd blow your engine.
Oh, you'd blow the engine. The car would flip probably because you'd be going so fast. But then in the very next second, he's right behind the bad guys again. It's I don't understand what's happening. So anyway, then we get to the jump portion of the race where they're going over the Venice Canal bridges, and that's pretty fucking sweet.
It looked awesome.
Yeah. Those cars are wrecked, though.
Yeah, no doubt, dude. Especially that awesome 50. If they were really doing that with that car, you said it was heavy as shit.
Yeah, it's heavy as fuck.
It would just blow the tires out when you're coming to land.
So somehow, miraculously, the chase continues into a marina area. Nightslasher continues shooting at Cobra and missing, but the distraction is just enough because the next thing we see is Cobra speeding toward the back end of the propeller of a big boat that's up on a trailer or something.
Yeah, it's like dry dock.
He yells for Ingrid to get down, get down, and we see the car hit the boat at a weird angle and it shears off a big chunk of the back end, and then the car flips a couple of times. Nightslasher, of course, gets away.
I love when you just crash for no discernible reason, though. He's just like, look out, there's a boat, and just plows into it.
Like, slam on the brakes.
Maybe he does have if he's still got the nitrous going, maybe it is like just out of control.
There's no anyway. So
the car just went airborne for no reason.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It went airborne into a barrel roll.
It like hit. Yeah, they like sheared it off, and I couldn't tell if it was supposed to be because the car like went up whatever trailer the boat was on.
Well, I don't know if you noticed or not, but in the wide shot of the crash, the Nightslasher's car had already crashed into the boat. Like there was another that car was tangled up under the boat. I did not
even notice that.
And it's like there must have been some version they were planning to do where both cars crashed, but the Nightslasher got away or something. And then I don't know why. But they decided to change it up.
I kept rewinding it to try to make sense of how the car went up.
Maybe it hit the back of the other car and sort of that ramped it. I don't know. But that car wasn't supposed to be there because next thing we know, Nightslasher's driving off.
Yeah, instead of checking to make sure that everyone he's been trying to kill is actually dead, Nightslasher's like, all right, time to go.
Let's get out of here.
Bye. So a seemingly concussed Cobra stumbles out of his car, gun drawn, but the bad guys are nowhere to be found. And then finally, taking some concern in poor Ingrid, he stumbles around to the passenger side and helps bloodied Ingrid out of the wreckage.
I mean, if Nightslasher doesn't kill Ingrid, Cobra surely will.
He's gonna try. He's gonna try his day. Maybe this was a test. He's like, if she can survive this, I will mate her. What?
That's amazing. Oh my gosh, I'm out of breath.
That was a lot.
That was
a lot
an
to get
action-packed
through.
chapter.
A brisk pace. That was definitely the most action in the whole movie. I think a lot fit into a tiny space.
Lots of stunts, lots of near-death.
Some of the effects in this section, especially the car chases, are cool anyway.
Yeah.
But those car chases, continuity issues and all, were pretty dope.
I'm into it, man.
Who even knows what's going to happen?
I don't know. We can't wait to see
we'll call it there.
What Cobra is going to do next.
He's going to fucking kill everyone. In the meantime, we'll be back.